Have you ever noticed how some nights the quiet feels heavier than the noise? How the stillness of your room seems to echo every thought, every worry, every memory you've been carrying? You sit down, hoping for peace, but instead a subtle tension takes hold. Your mind racing through the past, imagining the future, questioning the present. Anxiety doesn't knock. It doesn't announce itself. It simply arrives, as if it has always been part of the furniture, quietly sitting beside you. But what if this restlessness, this unease, wasn't something to fight? What if it wasn't proof that you're failing or that something is wrong? What if it's actually a doorway, a signal from life itself, inviting you to look more closely at what truly matters? In the wisdom of Buddhism, what we call suffering, including anxiety, fear, and restlessness, is not an enemy. It is a guide. It speaks in silence, urging us to pause, to notice, and to understand. Too often, we've been taught to push these feelings away, to distract ourselves, to numb ourselves, or to pretend they don't exist. But real transformation comes when we meet discomfort with awareness, not resistance. Especially in moments of stillness, when the day slows, when life offers space to breathe. We discover that anxiety isn't a punishment, it's an invitation. It's a chance to reconnect with ourselves, to observe our thoughts, to witness the flow of our emotions without judgment. And in that gentle awareness, something extraordinary happens. We stop being controlled by worry, and we begin to see it as a teacher. Today we'll explore one profound principle from Buddhist philosophy, a thought that has guided monks in remote temples, calmed minds in the midst of chaos, and brought quiet clarity to countless ordinary lives. This is not about denying reality or forcing happiness. It is about understanding, about liberation, about meeting your inner world with curiosity instead of fear. If you've ever felt trapped by your mind, if your heart carries burdens you don't know how to release, stay with me. Because the truth is, you are not broken, you are not failing, you are being invited to see your life and your mind in a different light. 1. Anchoring in the present. Sometimes anxiety begins quietly, a subtle tightness in the chest while sipping your morning coffee, a fleeting unease while folding clothes, or a gentle whisper that something feels off, even when nothing has happened. For many older adults, especially those living alone or adjusting to slower routines, these small tremors of worry can creep in like shadows under a door. They are subtle but persistent, pulling the mind away from the warmth of the present and into the cold corridors of what-ifs and if-onlys. Mindfulness, as taught in Buddhist tradition, is a doorway back into your body, back into your breath, back into the one place where peace truly resides, right here, right now. Mindfulness is not about forcing stillness or emptying the mind. It is about noticing with gentle attention the sensations in your body, observing the flow of your breath, watching thoughts rise and fall without judgment. It is the practice of being fully where your feet are instead of lost in the regrets of yesterday or the worries of tomorrow. The Buddha taught, do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. This teaching speaks directly to anxiety, which always reaches forward, attempting to predict, protect, or prepare. The present moment asks only that we be here. Consider the story of Harold, a 75-year-old retired gardener. After the passing of his wife, the quiet of his home became heavy, filled with echoes of loneliness. Small worries began to multiply. What if I fall while walking to the mailbox? What if I forget something important? What if I become a burden to my children? Harold's doctor suggested he try a mindfulness group at the local community center. Skeptical, he attended his first session. The instructor asked them simply to sit, close their eyes, and follow their breath. Not to control it, not to judge it, just to observe it. Harold remembered later, "At first, my thoughts felt deafening, but slowly I noticed the rhythm of my breath, then the warmth of the sunlight on my hands, then the gentle rustle of leaves outside. Each inhale and exhale became an anchor, each step outside a meditation." Harold began practicing for a few minutes each day, simply noticing his body, his surroundings, and his breath. He didn't try to stop the thoughts. He watched them like clouds drifting across the sky. Over time, the clouds grew lighter and the storm of anxiety lost its grip. Mindfulness does not promise to remove life's struggles. Instead, it teaches us to sit with them without fear. It reminds us we are not the storm, we are the sky that holds it. And it is forgiving. When the mind drifts, noticing and returning is itself the practice. That gentle return is the victory. If anxiety visits today, meet it with your breath. Anchor yourself in what is tangible. The contact of your feet with the floor, the warmth of sunlight, the rise and fall of your inhale and exhale. As Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh said, "Feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. Take a breath now. Feel it move through your body. And as you exhale, whisper softly, 'I am here.' And here is enough." 2. The thought that sets you free. There's a moment in every life, perhaps in the quiet hours before sunrise or amid the bustle of a busy afternoon, when a thought appears uninvited. It settles like a stone on the chest, whispering, "What if this never improves?" Or, "Something is wrong." Before we notice, we are no longer in the present. We are living inside that thought, trapped in a world of tension, doubt, and fear. Buddhism offers a simple yet profoundly freeing practice. This too is just a thought. Pause and let that sink in. Not every thought is true. Not every worry deserves your trust. Some are echoes of old fears handed down like invisible heirlooms. Some are habits of the mind, scanning, predicting, and guarding, doing what the brain has done for decades. But even the loudest, most persistent thoughts are not facts. They are clouds drifting across the sky of your awareness. A wise monk once said, "Do not believe everything you think," and it is true. Thoughts, even urgent ones, are often ripples on the surface of the mind. With mindfulness and reflection, we begin to observe them without judgment, noticing how fleeting they really are. Consider the story of Eleanor, a 68-year-old retired teacher. After moving into a smaller apartment following her divorce, she began experiencing waves of sudden worry. While cooking, she would panic. What if I leave the stove on? What if I trip in the hallway? What if I forget something important? Her heart raced, her chest tightened, and her mind seemed to spiral endlessly. Eleanor joined a meditation group at her local community center. One afternoon, the instructor invited the participants to write down the phrase, "This thought is not me. It is just a thought." At first, Eleanor felt awkward, yet gradually the practice became her anchor. Each time anxiety arose, she repeated it gently, like a soft mantra. Over time, the grip of fear loosened. She began to see her thoughts for what they were, passing events in the mind, not commands or realities. This is the essence of non-identification in Buddhism, recognizing that thoughts are movements in consciousness, like leaves floating on a stream. Some are helpful, some are not. None define who you truly are. The practice is not about suppressing anxious thoughts or judging yourself for having them. It's about clarity. I see you, thought. You are trying to protect me, to warn me, but you are not reality. You do not control me. It's a subtle but transformative shift from being inside the thought to standing beside it. As the teacher, Ajahn Chah, said, if you let go a little, you'll have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you'll have a lot of peace. If you let go completely, you'll be free. Next time a wave of anxiety rises, meet it with gentleness. Whisper to yourself, this too is just a thought. No struggle, no panic. Just a quiet reminder that peace is always available, even amidst the storm. 3. Letting go to find peace. Anxiety is not sudden. It doesn't arrive like a storm from nowhere. It grows quietly, nurtured by two forces, attachment and aversion. Attachment is the mind's longing, the silent grip on what we love, on routines, on the version of ourselves we've built. Aversion is its shadow, the push against what we fear, what we dislike, what challenges our comfort. Together, they weave the tension that we call anxiety. Take my friend Maya, for instance. She had spent decades running her small bakery, greeting the same faces, crafting the same recipes. Her life had a rhythm, a comforting predictability. But when her business had to close unexpectedly, she felt the ground shift beneath her. Her identity, tied so closely to her work, seemed to slip away. Anxiety crept in, not because the world changed, but because she clung to the life she thought she should still have. The truth the Buddha teaches is gentle, yet profound. Everything changes. Your body changes. Your relationships change. Even your emotions, which can feel unshakable, rise and fall like waves. Suffering emerges when we resist this natural flow, when we hold tightly to what has passed or push away what is here. The freedom, the quiet peace, comes from letting go, from loosening the grip on certainty and control. Maya began to notice small moments, sunlight on her kitchen counter, the aroma of fresh bread, a stranger's smile. Slowly, she realized she could still create, still nurture, still find joy, even without the old routines she had thought defined her. We are not our habits. We are not our past. We are not the version of ourselves we cling to. True peace grows when we open our hands to life as it is, when we stop fighting change and begin to flow with it. As the Dhammapada says, from attachment arises suffering, from aversion arises fear. But the one who lets go knows freedom and peace. Today, let yourself unclench. Release the need to control, the need to hold on. In that gentle surrender, anxiety loses its power, and space opens for calm, clarity, and a quiet joy that was always waiting. 4. Self-kindness in moments of fear. Anxiety often brings with it a quiet, relentless companion, the inner critic. It's a voice that whispers doubts, questions your worth, and reminds you of every time you should have been stronger. Over time, it wears on the spirit, layering guilt and shame on top of fear. Buddhism offers a simple but profound antidote: compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves, especially for those moments when life feels heavy and the heart is tender. Many older adults spent a lifetime prioritizing others. You gave care to children, partners, colleagues, or aging parents while putting your own needs aside. Strength was measured by endurance, and vulnerability was rarely welcomed. When the pace of life slows, the emotions that were set aside may surface: worry, grief, regret, or anxiety. Yet compassion reminds us that peace does not come from perfection. It comes from tenderness. The Buddha said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." These words are not indulgence, they are a lifeline. Consider the story of Margaret, an 80-year-old retired seamstress. Margaret had spent decades caring for her family and community, always the reliable, steady presence. After the passing of her brother, she began noticing waves of anxiety, sudden tightness in her chest, racing thoughts, and sleepless nights. She felt ashamed. "Why am I anxious now?" she wondered. "I've always managed everything before." Margaret joined a gentle meditation class focused on self-compassion. One exercise asked participants to place a hand over their heart and silently say, "May I care for myself in this moment. May I be gentle with my own pain." At first, Margaret struggled. The words felt foreign. Her chest tightened and old doubts rose. Am I being selfish? But the teacher encouraged her gently. Compassion is not indulgence. It is learning to sit with your own heart. Slowly, Margaret began a daily practice. She wrote letters to herself, acknowledging the effort it took just to face each day. She forgave the parts of herself that had been tired, overworked, or afraid. Gradually, she discovered a new rhythm, a softening of the mind, a release from constant self-criticism. Compassion does not eliminate anxiety. It does something subtler. It changes the way we relate to it. Anxiety is no longer a battle to be fought, but a companion to be understood and cared for. As Thich Nhat Hanh said, "When you love someone, the best gift is your presence." How can you love if you are not there? The same is true for yourself. When anxiety appears, meet it with gentleness. Sit beside it, listen to it, offer kindness, not to fix it, but to hold it tenderly. Sometimes, just knowing someone is present is enough to soften the heart. 5. You are not your anxiety. There are times when anxiety feels so overwhelming that it seems to seep into our very identity. The restless heartbeat, the endless stream of what-ifs, the heavy fog of unease. After a while, it can feel less like an experience and more like who we are. The words, "I am anxious," slip easily from our lips, as if the condition defines us. Yet more than 2 millennia ago, the Buddha offered a teaching that gently separates us from this illusion. He showed that thoughts and emotions, no matter how strong, are not our essence. He gave us a phrase that can act as a key to unlock the grip of fear. This is not mine. This is not me. This is not who I am. These words are not a form of denial. They do not ignore what you feel. Instead, they point to a deeper truth, that you are more than your anxiety. Just as the ocean is more than the waves that rise and fall, you are more than the passing storms of worry. This teaching rests on the principle of anatta, or non-self. It reminds us that the things we cling to, whether fear, sorrow, or even joy, are not permanent possessions. They move through us, they visit, they linger, and they fade. When we mistake them for our identity, suffering grows. When we recognize them as visitors, space opens for peace. Let me share an example. Eleanor, a retired teacher in her late 70s, found herself caught in cycles of dread after her husband moved into long-term care. She described it as an invisible weight pressing against her chest, making it hard to breathe. She began to believe that this fear was now her constant companion, part of who she was. One evening, during a gentle meditation session at her community center, the guide repeated the phrase, "This is not mine, this is not me, this is not who I am." At first, Eleanor felt resistant. The fear seemed so real, so close, but as she whispered the words, she noticed something shift. The emotion was still there, but it felt lighter, like she was standing beside it instead of drowning inside it. In the weeks that followed, she practiced this daily. When fear crept in at night, she would pause, breathe, and softly remind herself, "This is not who I am." Over time, the panic still came, but it no longer defined her. She had found space around the storm. The power of this teaching lies in its simplicity. Each phrase reveals a truth. This is not mine. Feelings don't belong to us. They arise and pass like clouds. This is not me. We are not our fears. They visit us, but they do not define us. This is not who I am. Our essence is deeper, wider, and untouched by passing struggles. The next time anxiety appears, try pausing and repeating these words. Notice how they create distance between you and the feeling. You are not pushing it away, you are remembering that it does not own you. As Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, "Feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor." This phrase becomes just that, an anchor, a light in the fog, a compass back to your true self. Especially in later years, as life changes and losses arrive, this teaching becomes not just useful, but essential. For you are not your anxiety. You are the sky that holds every cloud, the stillness that remains when the wave recedes. You are still here, whole, steady, and free. 6. Living the thought, a daily practice. Life often tests us in quiet, subtle ways. The dishes pile up, the phone rings endlessly, aches remind us of time passing, and our hearts still tremble with old fears. In these ordinary moments, anxiety can sneak in, making us feel small, restless, or overwhelmed. Hearing a teaching is one thing, but bringing it into these daily rhythms, that is where transformation begins. The Buddha's wisdom was never meant to sit on a shelf. It was meant to move with life, to walk with us through kitchens and gardens, markets and hallways, into every corner of experience. The phrase, "This is not mine, this is not me, this is not who I am," is not just for meditation cushions or retreats. It is for the living, breathing, messy world you navigate every day. Start gently. Pause for a moment. Sit in a chair or stand with your feet pressing firmly into the floor. Allow your body to settle without forcing it. Draw in a slow breath and release it just as slowly. Let your breath be a quiet hand on your back, steadying and comforting. Bring to mind a worry or anxiety that has been pressing on you. It might be small, persistent, like background static, or it could be larger, an old regret, an uneasy decision, or a lingering fear. Do not judge it. Simply hold it in awareness, as if placing a smooth stone in the palm of your hand. Now, Repeat the phrases slowly, either out loud or in your mind. This is not mine. Pause. Let the meaning settle. This is not me. Feel the space opening between yourself and the emotion. This is not who I am. Breathe. Notice how the grip begins to loosen, even just a little. You are not denying the feeling. You are observing it, witnessing it, without merging with it, without claiming it as your identity. Imagine your breath as a gentle breeze moving through a house. It flows into the room of your anxiety, airing it out. Nothing is pushed away. Everything is made room for. The house, the container of your being, remains solid, grounded, whole. The anxious thought is merely a guest. It may linger, but it does not own the space, and it does not hold the keys. Apply this practice throughout your day. You do not need a cushion, a meditation hall, or a retreat center. You need it when you wake in the night with a racing heart. You need it when a loved one's absence makes your chest ache. You need it when time reminds you that not everything is under your control. In those moments, focus on presence, not perfection. Breathe in, this is not mine. Exhale, this is not me. Breathe again, this is not who I am. Return to what is before you. Folding laundry, walking through the garden, petting a beloved animal, listening to wind rustle through the trees. In this way, the practice becomes seamless, woven into life rather than separate from it. With repeated practice, your nervous system learns a new truth. You are safe. You are not trapped in the past, nor lost in what-ifs. You are here, breathing, alive, and whole. Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, "The present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you are attentive, you will see it." This phrase is a bridge back to that joy, a quiet reminder that anxiety has never defined your essence. When the next wave comes, do not resist. Welcome it as a visitor you no longer fear. Offer it a seat. Look at it gently and say, "This is not who I am." The real you is steady beneath the storm, spacious within the noise, and held in love. Let each repetition be a balm, not a weapon. With practice, anxiety becomes a teacher, revealing your resilience and your capacity to return again and again to calm and clarity. So I leave you with this, dear friend. What if, the next time anxiety visits, you saw it not as a curse, but as a gentle guide back to yourself? If this reflection spoke to you, carry it with you, and remember, you are never walking this path alone.